India, a land full of mysteries and 1,000 colors of history. A place where civilizations rose from the earth, empires were born and then returned to dust. But one day, deep in history, India became the crown jewel of the British Empire. Now, if you think India was always one unified country, well, think again, my friend. For most of its history, India was more like a mosaic of small and large territories, kingdoms, sultanates, and states with different languages, religions, and cultures. But then, Britain entered the scene. How Britain set foot on this land and slowly took control is a story full of betrayal, trade, and war, but we'll save that for another time. What matters is that the result was the British Raj, the Great British Empire in India. And believe it or not, this Raj wasn't just today's India. Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Myanmar were all part of it too. Back then, when someone said India, they meant this huge collection of lands, not just one country. But here's the big question. What caused this great India to split into pieces after independence? And could it have been stopped? The answer lies deep in religion. The story begins when Islam first arrived in the subcontinent, with wars and major changes. From the 13th century onwards, Islamic rulers controlled parts of India. And while people of different beliefs lived under these rulers, peace and friendship weren't always guaranteed. As the Islamic territories expanded southward, religious tensions grew stronger, conflicts whose roots lasted for centuries. Then, Britain entered the game. At first, just traders seeking spices and profit. But from the late 18th century, they slowly began taking over lands and implementing policies that smelled of division. For example, in Bengal, where most people were Muslim, Britain recruited more high-caste Hindus into their army. The result? Widening the divide between communities. And this was just the beginning. In the next episode, we'll dive into the actual partition, the historic moment when India split into several countries and millions were displaced. If you're into real, intense, historical stories, hit subscribe and get ready for the next chapter of this incredible saga. After the conquest of Mysore, Britain followed a familiar policy, sidelining Muslim elites and building an army made up mostly of Hindus and a few Christian converts. The goal? To prevent any dangerous unity. Over the next 50 years, the East India Company used these armies to spark countless wars. They played the princely states against each other to take control of the entire subcontinent. But this advantage didn't last. When new cartridges greased with cow and pig fat were introduced, a massive rebellion broke out in northern India. This became India's first war of independence. Britain brutally crushed it but dissolved the company and took direct control. Now, the census and classification of people began based on religion and class. A process that unintentionally sparked a sense of national identity. And the result? The formation of the Indian National Congress. At first, the Congress was for urban elites, but it quickly grew into a large movement for representation and independence. Britain, as always, played the divide card, this time by winning Muslim support. Many Muslims felt like a minority, so in 1906 they formed the Muslim League. Britain seemingly gave concessions, local elections for all. But alongside that, they created separate electoral constituencies for Muslims. This meant two power structures within one society. And these divisions were just the beginning. In the next episode, we'll explore Gandhi and the movement that shook India. If you like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Britain tried to use the Muslim League as a counterweight against the Congress. And at first, it worked. until World War I turned everything upside down. Nearly 1.5 million Indians fought for Britain. Their contribution was so important that India became a founding member of the League of Nations. In the minds of many Indians, independence had been bought with their own blood. Even the Muslim League now demanded independence. But the big question was, what kind of independence? The Congress, led by a man named Mahatma Gandhi, wanted a united and inclusive India. Gandhi, master of peaceful missions and messenger of religious unity, managed to attract even many Muslims. On the other side, two factions had formed within the Muslim League. A moderate wing seeking autonomy for Muslims within a federal India, and a hardline wing demanding a separate Muslim state. At first, the hardliners were in the minority. But Gandhi's civil disobedience campaigns forced Britain to make concessions. By 1935, voting rights were granted to 35 million people, and 2 years later, India held its first national elections. The Congress was the big winner. It won the majority in 8 out of 11 provinces of British India. But the Muslim League? It lost even in provinces with large Muslim populations. Meanwhile, Congress had promised to abolish separate Muslim constituencies. For many Muslims, the fear of Hindu domination was no longer just a possibility. It was becoming reality. In the next episode, things get more complicated than ever. Conflicts, political twists, and a movement that changed India forever. Don't forget to like and subscribe, we still have many stories to tell. Very quickly, the Muslim League joined the hardliner faction. Their main leader was none other than Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who dreamed of creating a country called the Land of the Pure Pakistan. When World War II began, Britain realized its time in India was running out. To gain the Congress's cooperation, it promised that after the war, India would become a dominion like Canada or Australia. But Gandhi only wanted one thing: full independence. So he rejected the offer and launched the strongest civil disobedience campaign yet. Winston Churchill did not like Gandhi's move. He imprisoned Gandhi and other Congress leaders, focusing all his efforts on cooperating with Jinnah and the Muslim League. Muslims cooperated more with Britain, and in return, Britain promised them the right to secede in a future independent India. This angered the Congress deeply, but from prison, they were powerless. When the war ended and Gandhi was freed, the Muslim League had gained significant power, and many in India began demanding Pakistan. Things got more complicated when Churchill lost the 1945 election and the Labour Party came to power. The new party promised to grant India independence as soon as possible. India's elections were held the next year. The Muslim League won the majority of Muslim votes, while the Congress took the rest. The Labour Party tried to find a federal solution for India, even convincing the Muslim League, but the Congress rejected it. This is where things got messy. A few days later, Jinnah declared Direct Action Day, August 16, 1946. Muslims across India were set to launch widespread protests. Although Jinnah officially didn't endorse violence, communal clashes erupted and continued well into the next year. By this point, Britain had practically lost control of the situation. In February 1947, the last Viceroy of India was appointed. Britain sent Lord Mountbatten to India and said, "You must oversee India's independence by the end of June 1948. His orders were to keep India united if possible, but if not, to withdraw British forces with minimal casualties. But just days after his arrival, violence erupted in Punjab. It was clear independence couldn't wait another year. Mountbatten tried to convince the Muslim League to stay in a federal India, but it was useless. Gandhi's hard days and long fasts to keep unity also failed. So in June 1947, Britain announced to the world that in just 2 months, India and Pakistan would become independent, but their borders were completely uncertain. The border map? It was left to a British lawyer who had never even been to India. He had only 5 weeks to draw the map. 5 weeks. The result? Punjab and Bengal provinces were split between India and Pakistan. Worse, the map was published days after independence was declared, meaning millions of Hindus and Muslims found themselves suddenly on the wrong side of the border. This sparked the largest migration in human history. 14 million people were displaced and nearly 1 million lost their lives. Despite 55,000 British soldiers in Punjab, they couldn't control the violence. Only Gandhi's presence and peace fast in Bengal managed to calm things down. But only in that region. The initial borders later caused wars between India and Pakistan, even splitting Pakistan into 2 parts. But that story, we'll save for another time. Well friends, that was a story you might not hear often. But its impact is still alive in the heart of history. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, so we can dive into more exciting stories together. Until then, just remember, history is always one step ahead of the future. So stay curious, and stay with us. Thanks for watching, love you all, see you next time.